In today's video, we're going to be running through my team selection ahead of FPL Game Week 14. We're also going to be discussing my Senesi replacement for this game week and also the best captain, as I do believe there is potentially scope to go without Haaland on the armband this week. Now, as always, before we dive into today's video, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as we're trying to hit 22,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and it is only possible with your amazing support. So like I said, if you enjoy the content, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. Make sure you're liking the video as well, so I do know, obviously, we did a good job on this video, and any questions you've got, get them in the comments or head over to my Discord, link in the description for that one as well. As you can see, the free hit was a massive success. We ran through this in the transfer targets video yesterday, but as you can see on screen right now, it was just a huge success, an absolute barnstormer, really. The only player that I was kind of contemplating with was, of course, Bruno Fernandes and Dango. But, of course, that would have meant no Cody Gakpo, which obviously he really delivered as well. So it was kind of one of those where, you know, we could have maybe got a few more points out of this team. If I'd have gone with Dango, stuck with my guts ahead of Sharda, we would have been absolutely flying and probably would have broken into the top 100k. But like I said, you can't complain when you get green arrows, and when you get them this juicy, oh my, it definitely makes it worth it. So yeah, the free hit, massive success, as you can see, up to 139,000 in rank now. Hopefully this week, another good game, we can potentially break ourselves into that top 100k. We are getting into some pretty serious positions now after a pretty slow start. However, we've genuinely just been hitting green arrows consistently for weeks now. So hopefully that trend can continue. Like I said, obviously one of the big problems with my original team was the fact that we wouldn't have any Senesi for this week. So obviously when we load up the team here, as you can see, let's head just straight into it. Senesi is red flagged. And interestingly, Bournemouth have actually been one of the worst sides over the past 5 to 6 game weeks for expected goals conceded. And especially with their away fixtures as well, they are notoriously bad and actually have one of the worst away records in the league. Interestingly, 82% of the goals that they've conceded so far this year have come from away games. They've got quite a few of those coming up over the festive period. Senesi and Bournemouth as well, like I said, have generally just been conceding too many opportunities. So I do feel like it was a very good time to, of course, me to, you know, just look for another defender. And I was actually kind of naturally planning on doing that anyway. I was probably going to get rid of Michael Keane. However, I think Senesi now has just forced my hand because, as you can see here, we've got Rodon and Richards. Not really ideal fixtures for either of those guys up against Manchester City and Chelsea this game week. So the plan is to, of course, make a transfer. The player that I've decided to go for is actually going to be Chow from Newcastle. I know this one probably feels a little bit knee-jerky, but he always was kind of, you know, on my radar, on my periphery because of the Newcastle fixtures coming up. And of course, how good they've been so far this season with their expected goals conceded column. Also, as well, with the kind of, you know, just the limited amount of goals that they have conceded. Obviously, me and Golden Goal have been doing some research on the FPL Cartel podcast as well, looking into Newcastle's home record over the past few seasons. And it actually has been one of the best sides to target at home. If you've got a Newcastle player at home, it is very likely that they will win. And it also is very likely that they will manage to keep a clean sheet. They've only lost 10 home games over the past 3 full seasons. So they've got a very, very good record at home. They've got a very good defensive record as well at home. Over the past 2 seasons, they've been second for goals conceded at home as well. So a really, really knit, tight defence. And as you can see, plenty of home fixtures coming up over the next few weeks. Tottenham and Burnley, 2 absolutely cracking fixtures to target there. Then they head to Sunderland for the derby, so God knows what happens with that one. Then they've got Chelsea at home. But again, given that strong home record that Newcastle have, if I had to play him at the worst, I wouldn't mind it either way. Then, as you can see as well, they've got that double kind of game week 15 and game week 19 are exactly the same weeks, but of course crossed over with the away fixture. So we get that Burnley fixture again. He also can hit those defensive contributions. He's did it 4 times so far this season as well. His minutes have been very, very decent. Now, would I be expecting set play goals from him every single week? Probably not. I have watched a lot of Newcastle's set plays, obviously prepping for my defensive transfer this week, taking a look. Now, Newcastle, when a corner or a free kick comes in, there are probably roughly around, I would say, 4 players that maybe could be up for that. You've obviously got Chow, you've got Dan Burn as well, who sometimes lingers in there. They have Walter Marder, they have Joel Linton, they have Fabian Schär. There are so many players from set plays where it's a little bit more harder to predict which one they're going to go for. However, Chow is involved in that, so could still get himself some decent involvements from that. The interesting thing that I noted when, of course, watching the Newcastle highlights was the long throws. Now, Dan Burn takes the long throws into the box, so that kind of devalues him because usually it isn't the guy that takes the long throws that gets the points. It is, of course, going to be, the guy getting the flick on or the guy that naturally successes from that as well. Who do you think is getting those flick-ons in the box? It is Chow. So that is why I am selecting him. He's got defensive contributions, Newcastle's strong defensive record, their home record, of course, as well, a little bit of a threat from the long throws and set plays as well, all factored into that. I do believe at 4.9 million, he is a great replacement if you are in the market for a Senesi one this week, and that is who I have selected as my Senesi replacement. Okay, let's head into the midfield then. As you can see, the midfield is absolutely stacked with some cracking fixtures this week. Obviously, the Manchester United pair with West Ham, as you can probably see as well. Bruno with the captaincy armband right now. We will talk about that in more detail in a second. Saka as well, a great fixture against Brentford at home as well. Feel pretty confident about that one. Semenyo, look, I'm not going to sell a 90-minute man ahead of obviously a busy festive fixture schedule. I'm really, really tempted by Cody Gakpo. Like, he is a player that really is catching the eye. And when you watch Liverpool, he is their best kind of standout player over the past few weeks as well. I think the game against PSV was a prime example of that. The game against West Ham as well, another fine example of where he was the best player and would really interest me. The problem is I'm kind of just sticking to my remit here of not trying to select players that could be potentially up for a risk of rotation. We might already have a few players that kind of fit into that bracket. So why would I sell a 90-minute man with an okay fixture this week against Everton at home? Bournemouth's home record is pretty decent as well so far this Premier League season. Why would I sell one of the, a 90-minute man who is kind of, good at football and can hit FPL points as well, ahead of potentially a little bit of a minutes risk player? Because I feel like Enzo could already be a minutes risk. Richards as well, playing a full 90 the other day as well. There are all these guys that very easily could be minutes risk. So my bench could get ran through very, very quickly. So bringing another one ahead of it, like I said, a very busy period doesn't seem like the right move, because yes, Gakpo might play this game against Sunderland, then he might be benched at the week. Remember, we've got a weekend round as well of FPL. So there is a hell of a lot of fixtures coming up. So I do think the play is just going to be stick with Semenyo in the midfield this week. Obviously, I'm feeling very, very good about my Manchester United pair against West Ham United. If you watch the Liverpool game, you know how poor West Ham have been. Interestingly, so far this season as well, they are 19th for expected goals conceded, 19th for goals conceded, and 19th in the league for big chances conceded. So there's just so much going through this kind of side that, yeah, it just feels to me like there is, real scope for a massive mega haul for one of the Manchester United midfielders. And that is, interestingly, why I've selected Bruno Fernandes as my captain for this game week as well. If we head over to my trusty table here, as you can see, we've got data from Fantasy Football Scout and FPL Review for the predicted points, as you can see here. Let's run through all the columns. So we've got XG conceded for the opponent, the predicted points from Fantasy Football, FPL Review, sorry. Then we've got points, goal involvements, XGI non-penalty, and points per start. Haaland, by the way, is still a very good captain for this week. If you haven't got Bruno Fernandes and thinking, right, I've got to go and get him, Haaland is still a great captaincy option this week. He's not got a bad record against Fulham either, so I don't mind going for Haaland either. Like, I know the past few weeks he's been blanking, but he's still been putting up good underlying numbers. City are still winning games as well. Fulham isn't a bad fixture, and as you can see there, 8.2 points per start is still very good, the best on this list. So he's still a very, very good magnet. 4 points, right? But it is a little bit more of a difficult fixture, and that is why people are, of course, looking at other alternative options. One of the other options I've outlined here is going to be Jean-Philippe Mateta up against Burnley, the worst side for expected goals conceded. No real surprise there. Of course, he is actually the second leading player for XGI non-penalty as well, behind Erling Haaland. Just been absolutely smashing it in, but has been missing a lot of big chances. And I do think he maybe could see an early substitution. There are a hell of a lot of games coming up for Crystal Palace over the next few weeks. We've seen some early substitutions in previous weeks with Mateta getting subbed off pre-60, that very easily could happen again. So despite the great fixture, I do just feel like picking a 90-minute man is going to be the better move over picking Mateta, and probably also goes with Enzo Fernandez. Despite the great fixture on paper, I do think, there is some doubts around his minutes, and you can probably see that in the predicted points here with him being the lowest for this game week. So I think he's a good hold for this week, but like I said, he very easily could be benched, and definitely not any kind of, captaincy material player that I personally would be going for with my own side. The options that do interest me then, outside of obviously going for Erling Haaland, and Mbeumo, Bruno Fernandes, and Bukayo Saka. Let's talk about the two Manchester United midfielders then. Like I said, XG conceded the 19th best here. Obviously, there's 6.3 projected points for Mbeumo and Saka as well, also better than Erling Haaland. Bruno Fernandes has the best predicted points for this game week as well. He's now got himself 7 goal involvements. He's just one of those midfielders that is ticking along nicely, and this is something that I called weeks and weeks ago when people were potentially looking at United midfielders to go for, all the way even back at the start of the season. I said, look, Bruno is probably going to end the season as one of the best scoring midfielders in the game because he's got so many avenues to points with defensive contributions, baseline bonus, penalties, corners, free kicks, open play threat as well. He's just got so much going for him that for me, he just does feel like an absolutely fantastic asset to always own and pick up. He's now, interestingly, the 6th best scoring midfielder within the game and is extremely tight between obviously 1st and 6th right now. So he very easily, if he goes off on a mega haul, could really realistically see himself being the best scoring midfielder in the game. This is obviously the guy that's missed 2 penalties as well, has been extremely close with DEFCON over the past few weeks as well, just skimming that 11-point mark, DEFCON every single week. So there is so much going for Bruno Fernandes right now. The fixture seems great. That is, of course, why I'm on Bruno. As well, the other big appeal of him is going to be the 90 minutes. Look, he's just got so much going for him this week. It does feel like an absolutely fantastic week to, of course, consider Bruno Fernandes as a captaincy option. Go against the template a little bit. Go against the grain. Go against Erling Haaland. And I'm all there for it. I've been the Bruno Fernandes mouthpiece for weeks, haven't I now? I feel like it's probably only fair that I do back up my kind of claims and give him the captaincy armband this week with, of course, a great fixture against West Ham. Some people, of course, might be considering Bukayo Saka as well, but I was interested to find that Brentford are currently the 5th best side for XG conceded. Like, I did not expect to see Brentford that high up there. They must have had some pretty decent weeks defensively over the past few weeks as well. The lowest XGI non-penalty on this list as well. And I do feel like if Arsenal are comfortable in that game, it very easily could be an early substitution for Madueke around the 60th minute mark for me as well. So where I'm leaning currently for captaincy is between Haaland and Bruno Fernandes. I'll probably make a final decision on the deadline tomorrow. But right now, at the time of me recording, I am leaning more towards Bruno Fernandes. Okay, let's complete the lineup then. As you can see, our 2 forwards this week are going to be Jean-Philippe Mateta and Erling Haaland. Again, no real desire to take either of these two out. So the plan is going to be for this week just to obviously make the one transfer. We're going to bring in Chow for Senesi. He's going to come into that back line and we're going to roll like this with Bruno Fernandes as our captain. Like I said, a late call might be made on that one. Future weeks going forward, obviously we'll have 2 free transfers heading into game week 15 that we will need to use both of them up to, of course, get our obviously 5 kind of active in game week 16. So the probable planned moves are going to be probably moving out Jean-Philippe Mateta for Thiago with Wolves and Leeds up in game week 15 and game week 16. And of course, how good he's been so far this season feels like you probably got to have him. There's also a turn in terms of Palace fixtures as well. So that makes complete sense to move for me. Then I probably will be looking at either an Enzo or a Semenyo replacement as my other transfer for next week. That might be an Elliot Anderson, drop it down, try and free up a little bit of money. It might be potentially move into a Phil Foden or potentially a Cody Gakpo as well. Like I said, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you're subscribing, liking, all that good stuff. Like I said, I will be live for the deadline tomorrow afternoon as well. So come in, get your team reviewed by me, answer any questions you can, and yeah, just enjoy it. And the best of luck, ladies and gentlemen, for FPL Game Week 14.